It is July 24th. It is 6 p.m. and I am in Indiana. Um, so today I just want to talk about something really quick. This is nothing new, but it has been on my mind a lot lately, and I've tried to do this video before talking about this, but a battery died, so I'm gonna do it over on another day. So today is the day, another day. So today I want to talk about something so simple, and it's called Cinderella. I want to talk about Cinderella real quick. I never really understood the story behind Cinderella, besides the fact that she found her prince and fell in love in this beautiful love story, right? That's what I had as a child of the story of Cinderella. So today, something just, well, not today, but a while ago, it just really hit me really hard, like the story of Cinderella. And I just want to share about everything has a meaning to me now. Like I can't watch anything or see anything without seeing the meaning behind the meaning, reading into it, right? So during the time of Cinderella, the story takes place during the time of kings and queens, and during this time, the king was only allowed to marry certain women. You couldn't marry your servants. You couldn't marry the slaves. You couldn't marry peasants. You couldn't marry the workers. But you only had to marry nobility, royalty, people who had some kind of status or a name for themselves, right? Someone who had an inheritance or land or property that was a benefit to the kingdom. So when they married, sometimes they married their cousins just so that they could build their kingdoms together, right? And they were assigned to marry their cousins at a young age, and their parents already made an agreement that this is what's going to happen when they become of age. They're promised to another kingdom so that their kingdoms could merge and become one, right? So during this time is the time of Cinderella, okay? So during this time of Cinderella's father died. Cinderella's mother just died, and then her father died, right? So she's an orphan. Before her mother dies first, we don't know about Cinderella's mom. We have no idea. But I'm going to assume that Cinderella's mother had some kind of nobility, some kind of royalty, some kind of inheritance, some kind of wealth, some kind of status in her name, that when she died, the father still was wealthy. Her father was a sailor, okay? Her father was so rich. Cinderella's father was so rich, he was like Christopher Columbus, okay? He had a ship, and he sailed out into the sea, and he never came back. That's what happened to Cinderella's father. It's in the story, right? He died out there. He never came back. They found his ship shipwrecked. So this man is wealthy, that he owns a ship, and he has wealth and riches, and he has a name for himself. When his first wife died, he married another woman who already had kids. They didn't have no children together. So it was Cinderella and her stepsisters that were not even half sisters, no blood relation. So the husband, her dad, married this woman who had no status, no royalty, no inheritance, no nothing. He married someone who had a name but not as great as his, right? So that's how they were in those times. You always married, the woman always married up, right? You try to find a man that is rich or wealthier than you. You don't marry down. You don't find a poorer husband, right? That's what the women did in those days. They didn't, I said we like I was there. I was not there. Bring it back. Wait a minute. I said we like I was there. Anyway, the women in that time did not marry anyone below their status. They always married above their status. So Cinderella's stepmom was below the status of her father, Cinderella's dad. So when he died, all of the inheritance went to the stepmother because Cinderella was not old enough to take over the house, her father's house, right? And that's the way it is. Still is that way. So when she came of age to marry, the mother-in-law, who inherited all of Cinderella's wealth from her father, didn't give it to her. She treated her like she was a slave in her own house. It was Cinderella's house. It was her own money. It was supposed to go to her, but since she was too young to take over the estate, the stepmother took over. And so the stepmother treated Cinderella like a stepchild and put her in the attic and treated her like she's supposed to serve them when really they were supposed to be serving her. Amen? Amen. So, I'm telling you, I never really looked into Cinderella this way. So, when it came time for her, we all know the story with the pumpkins and the mice and this fairy tale part. Yeah, beautiful story. Yes, and I think they threw that in there because some of it has to be some kind of fairy tale love story of how you have a fairy godmother and the fairy godmother comes along and makes the right wrong. Make the wrong right. Make the wrong right. Like, it was wrong what was done to her. She had no clue what was done to her. It was not even in her ability or it wasn't her nothing she did. And she couldn't change it. Nothing she could do to change it. She couldn't even fight for herself. So she had a fairy godmother came along and made all the wrongs right. Right? So this is the part that stood out to me the most. When she met the prince. She met the prince being her normal self. She didn't have to dress up as a queen that she was. She didn't have to be royalty that she was. She didn't have to pretend to be somebody with status because she already was. She just was herself. And what he saw in her was royalty. He saw in her, this girl has class. He saw in her, wow, she's really the type of woman I'm into. And she doesn't have a status though. Why? He didn't know she didn't have status. He thought she was. The way she act. She act like she was royalty because she was by blood, but she didn't know she was royalty. Amen. So he saw who she was without the title. Without her title. And when the day came for her to come to the ball, he saw her in her beauty and her splendor as she was supposed to be from the beginning, as her father intended her to be from the beginning. And he said, that's the girl I love. That's the girl for me. That's my wife right there. That's her right there. But in reality, that was just for one day. She just decorated herself for one day to show the world this is who I really am, but I'm pretending to be a servant in my own house. Cinderella, I'm pretending to be a servant in my own house, but really on the inside, I feel regal and royal, right? And he saw that in her, and this is the part that makes me cry, and it was always confusing to me when I was little, like why he didn't see she was poor. Why didn't he say, hey, I can't marry you because you're poor, you below my status, way below. And it's because once they figured it out, like this is the real owner of the house, this is the real person who has inheritance of the house, this is the person who is really entitled to all of the finances and the money and she's the one who's by blood I don't know the right word. What's the word when you're beneficiary? Come on. She's the one who's the only one who's the beneficiary of the will and the money of the dead deceased father. Not y'all. Y'all supposed to be her servants. Y'all was supposed to groom her until she came of age. So Cinderella, being the sweet young lady that she is, was hopefully, she just said, you know what, y'all keep it, because my husband is a king. And he said, let him keep it, because I have enough for both of us. What your father had is great and it's beautiful, but what I have is enough that you can let him have it. Let him keep that and come and be my queen. Amen. Come on, Cinderella. That Cinderella movie ministered to me. I've been hanging with teenagers lately, so I'm watching cartoons. But that one, I've been watching that my entire life, and I've never seen that. Like, she had to realize who she really was on the inside. She had to see, I'm royal. Like someone had to pull that out of her. Someone had to pull the beauty and the out of the rats and the stuff she was talking to. He had to pull that out of her. Like, look here, this is who you are. I know you can talk to the birds. I know you can sing beautifully, and all the animals in the forest come and run to you. Yeah, that's because that's who you are. That's because of your bloodline. This is who you are. The nature, the whole earth, the world can see who you are, and you can't. She had to see herself, who she was. You know, the funny part is, she took all that stuff off and went back. Well, she didn't take it off. It fell off at midnight, and she went back to be as a servant in her own house. And they hid her because now she was awake. Now she could see. Now she understood. Now she said, wait a minute. I'm supposed to be royalty. Amen. Come on. Somebody need to make a version of that. That's the real Cinderella. Amen. All right. That is not biblical. That came from the book of Disney. Amen.